What's up, geniuses? Welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Rob Markman. Now, today's guest is representing Carroll City, Miami. He has one of the dopest albums out right now. It's called ZUU. It's an amazing body of work, especially if you're a hip-hop historian, especially if you love Southern music, especially if you love Miami. He's also on tour with Billie Eilish right now, currently coming to a city near you. Denzel Curry, man. Welcome to For the Record, man.
Already. Let's do this shit. So back to the real conversation. Let's talk about these grills.
Let's talk about these grills. So you asked me before the camera started who I thought had the best grills in hip-hop. And I said coming up, being just a New York City kid, RZA. Because RZA's joint had the fangs in it when he was with the Grave Diggers. That was super creative to me.
Well, ODB had some hard-ass grills.
Right.
He had some hard grills. Paul Wall, of course.
Paul Wall, yeah.
Bun B. Fucking Big Pun had hard-ass grills.
Absolutely.
And who else, man? There's like a lot of people who had grills.
It's funny to see it, the resurgence of it. And we talked about this because you actually just took your grills out to do the interview. I'm like, fuck it.
I just wanted to do it with my regular teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, man, that's dope. I was saying, man, I might be the next show host, the first show host to get some grills.
Who, you?
Yeah, why not?
You
now,
should.
You just
why not,
me.
though? You
Next
should just
episode.
like get the diamond cuts and shit. This shit would look crazy.
Yo, Rahel, can we expense that? All right, cool. We're gonna put it on the genius budget, man. What's good with you, bro?
Shit, just touring. It's like, just regular work, like doing press and shit.
Right.
Like, I'm keeping that funky with you. Like, just like, just regular run.
Just working. Man, the last time I saw you, I was in Miami. It was real for a brief second. You was doing the show with the Flatbush Zombies.
Yeah.
Red Bull, I think, put it on, and y'all was performing in the wrestling. It was a sound clash in the wrestling ring.
Yeah.
And I stopped you to tell. That was the most creative. I've been to a million shows in my life. That was one of the most creative things I've ever seen. I'm not even a wrestling fan like that, and just the energy in there was unmatched, man. Where'd you come up with that idea, man?
Originally, I came up with this idea because, back in South Florida and shit, like all of us have animosity against each other or whatever the case may be. And it could be over something petty and whatever, you feel me? So like when everybody got somewhat cool with each other, but someone like kind of weird with each other, I was like, I addressed it to Puya, I addressed it to Banks, I addressed it to like a lot of these guys, like Westside Plague, all these dudes. And I was like, yo, what if we do a show where all of us clash against each other and we'll do it like every week? Have like us, like say 1 week it'll be like C9 when it was C9 against SS, and then you have SS go against like Buffet Boys, and then we'll incorporate on Westside, whoever won't stay on Westside Plague or whatever, like they'll go against either C9 or SS or Buffet Boys, and then we'll just alternate like that to build a community around that. And everybody was with it. Don't get me wrong. Everybody was with it. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago where I pitched them the idea in the first place. And then it just never fell through.
Right.
Like it never fell through. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep this on the back burner. And when the time comes, I'm gonna do this shit. So Lily, who stay in Miami, she's a homie and she works for Red Bull. Like they approached her about approaching me for some ideas of doing whatever I wanted to do. The typical rapper would be like, yeah, I'll throw a party or do a show or whatever. Like, yeah, I wanted to do a show, but as soon as you said like Red Bull is willing to get behind whatever you want to do, that's when I knew
the wrestling
this
idea.
was time.
That was dope. It was dope, man. And really, man, you work on that stage, like not just rapping. And you're rapping to the instrumental. It's not you're not rapping over a 4-track. You're rapping. You're bouncing off of the stage. You're running through the ropes and doing all that stuff. You put a lot of energy in your show. And now you're also on tour with Billie Eilish. I read in the Fader article that you said this is the first time that you're using in-ears.
Yeah, first time I ever used in-ears ever. Because I never did arenas or big-ass shows like that.
Right.
I was just used to either the hole-in-the-wall clubs or these like somewhat big venues, but I wasn't used to arenas and arena music. Like it like opened my eyes up to a whole different ball game. It was like when Kanye West went on tour with U2 and shit, and he never did arenas. It was like that. That was like the eye opener for me. Like, damn, I could be doing so much more than what I'm doing now.
Right, that's dope. And you're doing a lot now, because it's funny. I was at Rolling Loud. A lot of people who watch the show know that I do music also. I actually performed at Rolling Loud.
You performed at Rolling Loud?
Absolutely performed at Rolling Loud. And I'm here rapping over instrumentals, and you see a variety of stuff at Rolling Loud. You see everything from the fireworks that Travis Scott does to people just throwing on a full track and just doing they only doing their ad-libs.
Like, that's it.
There's an array of different performances. So when I see somebody perform for real, like it really, it's an appreciation. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a lost art, man. I think you definitely represent that.
I mean, I've been to a lot of shows, man, and I know what I want to do, and I see like certain problems with certain people's sets, and I don't say nothing, like, cause as they said they gonna get money, they thinking like, all right, I'm just gonna perform in front of these people, get this money, get out, and go get some more money just by doing my shit. I don't really gotta perform when people know who you are already. Me, I always feel like I always have something to prove to everybody, whether it's my manager, whether it's my brothers, whether it's my parents, whether it's like art school, whether it's like my fans that don't believe me and then people that do believe me. Like, I always have something to prove. Like, even when it comes down to like the tours I go on, I be looking at the rooms and I be like, I'm gonna do this room by myself one day. You feel me? And that's what be the driving force. So that's what caused me to like perform like bigger and bigger, like, and like just keep performing and doing my thing, because I want to do, like, I want them night slots. You get what I'm saying? I want to be able for people to be like, damn, I'm finna go watch Denzel Curry set. They already do that.
They do that.
They do that, and there's a lot of them, and it be in the daytime. But I want that night slot.
Right.
You feel me? I want those arenas. I want to be able to do all that stuff. You know?
So it's you pushing yourself
Yeah.
every night. That's dope. I want to talk about the music, man. The very first time we met, you came to Genius to do Verify for Ultimate.
Yeah.
Which was a huge song for you. And it's just gotten bigger, just the growth from there, man. When you dropped Taboo, just conceptually, I thought that was a dope and amazing album. I got to say, I always said that. I tell you, CLOUT COBAIN, to me, is one of the most thoughtful commentary on where we are today with music and artists' relationship with the fans, drugs, depression, mental health, like all encompassing to one. I think the way you did that, especially with the video, was super creative and important. People needed to see that.
Of course they needed to see it. Everybody just thought like, oh man, when Perks came out, because Perks literally has the same message as the CLOUT COBAIN video, except it was harder on the ears. And then, when you look at CLOUT COBAIN, it was more melodic, and people wasn't ready for that. They wasn't ready to see that side of Denzel yet. I mean, of course, they seen it on like This Life and certain tracks I do, like ULT, when I'm like singing a hook, but they wasn't ready for a full melodic song with a message. And then that commentary of that era I was in, it was like real, because I'm looking at everything that happened now,
right?
Like with the 6ix9ine getting locked up, with certain rappers dying, like, and just everybody not caring until they die. I was literally like, okay, I'm gonna put this in perspective and show y'all what's gonna happen. That's literally what happened. And then I'm just over here, as soon as everything started happening, I'm just looking at everybody like, I told y'all.
Right.
Like,
the writing
I
was
told
on the
you
wall.
this was gonna happen.
Do you think anything's changed? Or do you think it's
I
something
feel like
that
it's dying down.
Okay.
Like, you could tell it's dying down. I think after Nipsey's passing, like, a lot of that clout shit just died down. Like, nobody cares about it.
Right. I hope so, man. I hope, and because then it means that you didn't die in vain, that we didn't lose, guys like Nipsey in vain, or people like Mac Miller, or even X, like, in vain, if we learn from it. You know what I'm saying? If we go back to start making the same mistakes, then it's like, damn, what are we all
history
doing?
gonna keep repeating itself.
Right.
You're gonna have another person like that, and there's mad stuff that's gonna keep happening like that. It's gonna trickle down. But what I was saying is, at that moment, I was like, look, this is what's gonna happen. And then when X died after the video was made.
Right.
So we released the video after X's death, because they was like, yo, do you want to push it back? Do you want to push back the video? I was like, no, because my friend just died. Now y'all really got to see this shit, because y'all don't know what's happening.
Right.
And then with the whole 6ix9ine situation, and then everybody seen it coming. They was just entertaining it. Like,
It was for likes. My life, your entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Somebody famously said. I want to talk about ZUU now, because ZUU, I think, has a different feel. I don't think it's any less important. I think it's a fun album.
Yeah,
but
that's what it's supposed to be.
Right. But it also is almost like a history lesson, man. I think in this era, and I always talk about this generational divide, right, in hip hop. I think the older heads want respect from the younger generation, and the younger generation is like, yo, we here now. I'm not gonna sit here and just have y'all talk down to us. We popping right now, and a lot of times they not talking to each other, and there's a divide. You know what I'm saying? For the ones that don't get it.
But I feel like it always been that divide though, from the 80s to the 90s, to 90s to 2000s, 2010s, and then 10s to the 20s. Like it's always gonna be that divide though.
Right.
Like y'all, I mean, back in the day, like old heads don't think like, okay, there was other people going at it, you know, like the younger generation, the older generation, you know. Just imagine how people was looking at Tupac and Biggie back then. They probably didn't like that shit, but they probably fucked with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what it was? I don't think they was as vocal because I think, you know, I look at somebody like Nas or something like that, right? And he kind of changed hip hop when he came out, or even Wu-Tang. And before that in the 80s, maybe it was Melly Mel and Run DMC. They sounded way different. Like you listen to it now, it sounds like an older style of music. Yeah. But the artists back then wouldn't come out and they might think it. Yeah, they might think it, but it'll still be a certain respect level. I think now you get shots thrown across the way on each side.
Yeah, because it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
We built all this just for y'all to just be like, this, that, and not care about the art. I think it's really the divide is because of the art. Like, I feel like old heads don't feel like the younger generation don't appreciate them and the art they put out for them to grow. And the younger generation feel like the old heads is just like hating,
talking down on them every chance they get.
Yep. Like it's like no one want to give advice and no one want to take it.
Right.
You feel me? If the man doing his thing, let him do his thing. But if it's getting to a point where it's like deteriorating like most people's minds, then you could probably say something.
Right.
But if it's not and people just trying to have fun and live in the moment, let that be.
But that's why I think ZUU is such a dope album and such an important album, because Denzel Curry has established a style for himself for years. And I think for you to kind of make this album, have fun with it, say, yo, look, these are the different things that's influenced me. Plus, I'm going to throw what I do automatically on top of it and do this in my style.
Yeah.
Was super dope. Where did that idea come from for you? Like, where did it start?
Man, it just... Really? You really want to know the real deal?
Yeah.
Bro, we was just in the studio and we was like, yo, let's make some hard shit. No, I'm dead ass. Yeah. Like, that was the conversation. They was like, what's the next move? Let's just make some hard shit. That was it. And we just went into the studio and just did just that. Just made some hard shit. And then just the subject matter, all that came about. I mean, I freestyled the whole thing. It was just like stuff I was freestyling always related back to what I was doing back when I was living in Miami. Because I don't live there no more. But so I was like, man, I feel homesick. I was feeling homesick and just like started going back and forth. And then I came up with like 60 names to name ZUU before it was ZUU.
Right.
None of them names fit.
No.
Like hella songs. Most of them were duds except Ricky.
Okay. So Ricky, I saw an interview too that you was in kind of a slump or something like that. And then Ricky came out.
I mean, that happens.
Of course.
When you don't be around like the studio for mad long, like it's hard to get that groove back. So I remember when I was working on Taboo, and after Taboo was finished, I kept working because I was like, the grind don't stop. And I don't want to lose that momentum.
It's the same thing like a basketball player. Like NBA season is done now. There's the off season. Everybody's going to go on vacation. But you got to come back. You got to do training camp before the season starts. Like you got to get into it. You can't just go.
Exactly.
Nah, I get it. On Birds, man, Rick Ross said, I got the little homie with me, the city on our backs, you and him.
Because we represent Kansas City.
How did that feel? What was your reaction? And I know you and Ross have a relationship prior to this record. Y'all done Naughty Head, y'all done records before this.
Yeah.
But to have Ross say, the city's on our backs.
Is a fact. It's a fact though, because like we putting on for Kansas City. Don't get me wrong, there's mad people in Kansas City that's still putting on for Kansas City. Like 12 Lens putting on for Kansas City. You know, Triple C's still putting on for Kansas City. 758 Poochie. Who else, man? There's a lot of dudes, man. Look, Play That Boy Zay. Like they all putting on for like the city. You know, it's just that we're probably the most known out that city.
Right. Nah, absolutely. Talk about the relationship with Ross, because y'all met a long time ago. Y'all did Naughty Head a few years ago, and y'all knew each other even before that, right?
I mean, we met before then. You know, I remember I got a phone call, and then it was my cousin Skrilla. He was signed to...
Shout to Skrilla. Signed to that's the homie. Signed to MMG. Yeah, he's a good dude. Super good dude.
That's my cousin.
Yeah.
As most people don't know.
He talk about you all the time. He brag about you and everything. He's cold.
Yeah,
lyrically,
man.
He's cold.
He's dope.
But yeah, shout to Skrilla.
Yeah, so Skrilla, you know, he was like, hey, yo, Ross want to holler at you. And then I think Sam Sneak called me, and Sam Sneak put me on the phone with Ross. And that's when me and him talked for the first time. And then I remember when Naughty Head came out, I think it was my birthday or something like that. Or I just got finished with the show. It was like a day or two after my birthday. And Naughty Head came out, I think, on my birthday. So I hit Ross. I was like, yo, you down to get on a remix? He was like, say no more. I'm gonna go to the studio tonight and give you the verse right back. He did just that.
That's hard.
That was crazy.
That's dope because it usually don't work like that. Like to get a feature, sometimes you might take a month,
months.
Might be 2 months, 3 months,
like
4 months.
That one took a day. Birds took me a week.
Right.
Yeah, it took him a week to do Birds, but he still got it in. So I know he's reliable in that source.
What made you sample Bushy B? Because
me and Bushy B, we went to. Do you know who Bushy B is?
No, I had to do the.
He's also
the
putting on for Carrot City. Sorry about that. I meant to mention Bushy B, Iceberg. Y'all boys putting on for Carrot City. My bad. Yeah, Bushy B is signed to Live House, which is Iceberg's label. You know, and you know Iceberg is a legend. Mm-hmm. But Bushy, me and him went to high school together. You know, and we met on some rap shit. We actually met through Simi, I think. Because me and Simi, we was both in Raider Klan and stuff like that. And we used to rap together. We had one song together before I really like took off and stuff. And that was it. Like I was doing my thing. He was back in Miami doing his thing, you know? So it was never no confusion, but we was always watching each other from a distance, like knowing how everybody was doing. Then 12 was like, hey, yo, you know Bushy B, right? And I was like, yeah, I went to school with him. Me and him did songs together before. And then he was like, you should holler at him and like see if you could get him on a project. So I was like, all right, me and him talked over the phone, you know, and he was like, so what you trying to do? And I was like, look, we want to sample your song because his song, like Poppin', is popping in Miami. So I was like, let us sample it. You know, it'll bring you up to a wider audience and stuff like that. And I'll make sure you get paid and all that stuff. Like everything is worked out. And he was like, all right, say no more, say less. So he let Fanatic and Zach sample it, and then I just rapped over it, and we used it as an interlude. And people was like, yo, it should have been a full song. But I was like, nah, it's perfect as an interlude.
It did what it was supposed to do. It's funny, the way you mapped it out is the way that it happened, because you asked me if I knew a Bushy B, and I didn't. What made me look him up was, you know, obviously his name is in the song title, Bushy B Interlude. Yeah. Then you hear the sample. I'm like, okay, where does this come from? I started looking up the sample, and now I discovered a whole nother artist. Yeah. That I knew nothing about. So if I did that, you can imagine how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans is going in now looking at this man's music, man. I thought it was dope that you sampled from a newer artist. A lot of times, you know, you in hip hop will sample from things that came way before us, and for you to sample something way more current, I think was super dope, bro.
I mean, it's like mainly like what we do anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been doing that though. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I would sample myself. Right. And then I remember I sampled, it was a song I did. What was it called? It was with me, Nell, and Sir Mikey Rocks. I forgot. I think it was called Shepherd. Mm. And we sampled a Metro ZUU freestyle. Right.
That's ill. You did your verified interview with us on Ricky about a month ago. And I want to go back because you really talked about freestyling the track. And you had this concept of that normally you would go from mine to Mike to yeah, mind pad Mike. Yeah, but you cut out the middleman.
Yeah, I mean, I might go back to doing that though, because the mind to Mike, it really gets the flows, and if you know what you're gonna say already, you're already good, you know. But the mind to pad to Mike is like, it doesn't cause me to overthink. I'm just there, like, I'm like, what you gonna say? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. And especially when time is crunching, you really don't got that much time to keep writing. You know, if you got to get something finished. Like me, I was already freestyling for fun, just to do it, and now I'm freestyling to actually get it done.
Right. Nah, that's dope, man. But it doesn't sound like, I think so often we hear artists brag about not writing. I don't write. And some artists brag about it and be like, nah, bro, you should probably write.
There's pros and cons. Don't get me wrong. When it comes down to writing and freestyling, there's pros and cons. See, look, when you're writing, the pros is you're actually getting out more than what you bargained for when you're writing, because you could think about introspective lyrics and stuff like that and to revise them. When you take freestyling, they get the best flows. Why do you think Young Thug's so raw? Like, that nigga got the best flows.
But I think he could rap. I think Young Thug, I think people hit, there's this
even Lil Wayne.
Wayne definitely off the top.
Wayne is raw. Jay-Z.
I mean, Jay doesn't write. Styles P doesn't write. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't write
They already know what they're
going
gonna say,
right?
you know. And then it gets to that point where you can make intricate bars in your mind. You already got a pad in your brain.
Right.
Your brain is supposed to tell you what to do, right?
Right.
So if your brain is telling you to write what you're thinking about on a pad, okay, I wrote it on the pad. Now what? Go to the mic. Okay, that's a whole long ass process. Right. It's like if you already know what you're gonna say in your brain, all right, where the mic at? Okay, do I like it? No, scratch it. Do it again.
You talked about there's a lyric on here. Ricky used to take me to my first shows ever.
Yeah, that was real.
Talk about your dad, the shows that he used to take you to.
Well, my dad took me, my mom, my brothers. We all went to this concert. You know this guitar player, his name Norman Brown.
Right.
Yeah. That was the first concert I ever been to.
So that's the first thing that really kind of opened your eyes to performing.
Yeah. It's the first thing ever. It was in the I think it was in the stadium actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was like in the arena.
What other shows did y'all go to? Y'all go to any other shows?
Man, that's the only one that I like really remember.
What did your dad listen to? What was he playing around the house?
My dad used to listen to Public Enemy, James Brown, Isaac Hayes, definitely.
Right.
Black Moses. What else?
Classic.
Curtis Mayfield. A lot of Curtis Mayfield. Who's the dude that made Superman Lover?
The rapper?
No.
Oh, I know Redman did the Superman Lover.
Nah, it's a
thing.
I
don't know who did.
I forgot his name.
I don't know who he sampled it from or who he got it from. I know Superman Lover. I know that from Redman.
Yeah, my dad listened to everything. You know, Al Green, Bill Withers, like that type of stuff. Barry White, especially.
Right.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, my dad listened to a lot of stuff.
Then for you, man, and the things that you was raised off of. On Carol Mart, you said I was raised off of Trina, Trick, Rick.
And Plies.
I
mean, come on.
Can we talk about Plies? I feel like Plies is one of the most underrated.
Man, Plies is a
so
legend,
crazy.
Man. You know, when it came, like, he a Florida legend to me.
Right.
Because when he was coming out, when Shawty and all that was coming out, and Ross and Plies and T-Pain, all them guys was working together, and they was all from Florida, that was like a stamp, like, showing, like, yeah, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, Fort Myers, Tallahassee, Miami, Broward, it doesn't matter. That's when Ace Hood and all them was coming out. They was really putting it on. Like, for real. And Plies, man, like, he had songs that I just, like, related to because I got older brothers and living in the area I was living in, like, listening to Goons Lurk and All Black, Plenty Money, like.
Plenty Money was hard. 100 Years.
Yeah, man.
Old Lady. I love Old Lady, man.
Plies.
I'm the Man.
Plies he pretty much embodied what everybody was, like, what people was living in South Florida was doing.
Right.
Well, at least from our side, because there's two different sides to South Florida, you know. You got the beach side, you know, with the, like, nice cars, nice women, you know, the bikinis and all that shit. Then you got the ratchet side, which is the side we come from.
Right. Now, it was dope, man. I remember I actually saw Plies perform, and maybe it was in Tampa, which is close to where he's from in Fort Myers. And the line was wrapped around the block 4 times. It was something like I never saw. This was, like, during the first 3 albums, like the height of his commercial success. And
Whack is one of my favorite songs too by Plies. I ain't gonna lie.
Nah, he's amazing. It was dope to see it because I don't really see him shout it out a lot. So for you to acknowledge that, I thought that was dope. Let's talk about Shake 88.
Yeah.
Sam Sneakers on that record too. That definitely sound like a Miami.
It is
joint.
I needed help on that one though. That one I could actually say, like, okay, the whole album's freestyle, but maybe I exaggerated a little bit. That one was actually wrote. Like, I needed help on that one.
You said 12 Lin and 12 my homie
Tay Cobain, yeah.
That's my guy.
So they both understand the dynamic of, like, the strip clubs and stuff like that. So of course I needed help. I don't go to strip clubs.
So how do they help? Can you paint the picture for me? Like,
we was coming up with flows, and then we was just all thinking about what to write in those bars when we was coming up with the flows. And somebody will have a suggestion, I will have a suggestion, they will have a suggestion. And we wanted to make it to a point where it's not like we're, you know, we talking that shit, but we're, like, still keeping it, like, cool, you feel me? And it was, like, factoring all that stuff in. And then, you know, the part when I was like, here's a little something about a bitch like me. Yeah. You know, number one, you know, touch my... I came up with that part.
Okay.
And
don't
then,
touch
like,
my weed.
Yeah, and then we was all talking. Then we was like, we collaborated with the main thing was she gonna shake her ass because you only live once. She gonna smoke a blunt, then vibe to the front. Like, we was trying to think about what to say because it was gonna be a long ass hook, but it was like, nah, we just need. 12 Lin was like, nah, we just need something simple, straight to the point, boom. And that was it. You know, like she gonna shake her ass because she only live once.
When do you decide? Because there's some, we actually talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, and again, I think it's a generational thing of how hip hop is evolving. I think when I was coming up, it was a no to have writers help you on the record, and it happened, but rappers would never admit it.
Yeah, no,
because
I'll admit it because I'm like, look, bro, I'm gonna let you know.
Well,
Like-
first of all, I think it's clear that rapping is not a problem for you.
Yeah, it's
Lyrics and lyricism is not a problem that you have.
But
So
when it's
this is a
something-
conscious decision.
Yeah, but when it's something that I'm totally oblivious to because I don't have that much experience with it,
Right.
then I'm gonna need some help. Like everybody, like looking like, oh, I did it myself. No, you didn't, nigga. Everybody needed some help at some point in life.
Right. That's dope, man. It definitely, and we talked about it. We talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's really, it's something maybe I didn't understand at first, but I think it's the way that the music is evolving and the way your generation of artists are like opening the scope of what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like I said, if you listen to Denzel Curry, you know that lyrics are not a problem.
Because majority of my songs, like Ultimate, I didn't need help writing.
Right.
Like I didn't need help with that shit.
Right.
Zone 3, majority of the shit I didn't need help writing. CLOUT COBAIN, come on, bro. I didn't need help writing that shit. Matter of fact, I freestyled that too.
Let's talk about I want to talk about Raider Klan real quick because okay, so we talk about the different eras. Like Shake 88 is like kind of like that 2 Live Crew, like the booty shake part of Miami. You know, there's other parts. Birds is the hustling part, and you got Ross on that. Like, I feel like each song takes you to a different
to a different era. That's what it's supposed to be. And then you get Pat, which is Projects and Turmoil. That's what it stands for. So that was a homage to one, Project Pat, because Projects and Turmoil. Yeah. Pat, Project Pat. You feel me? And Raider Klan, if you base off Raider Klan, I pretty much described it in Ricky. We was 3-6 Wu-Tang mixed with Dipset. Like, that's what it was.
Right.
That's the perfect description of what Raider Klan was.
Let's talk their influence. Raider Perp's influence, Raider Klan as a crew, I feel like goes so understated. It's one of those things like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of artists know.
They know because like when everything was happening, I mean, let me lay it down on the table. We didn't know we could do majority of the shit we was doing if it wasn't for Odd Future, Wolfgang, Kill 'Em All.
Okay.
Like, let's take it back to Tyler. Because Tyler was the main influence on my life before I even met Perp. And when Perp came out, they was calling Perp Odd Future's cosmic cousin. Right. It was like, this is like Odd Future, but from the South. Like, what? And then when we found out me and Perp was from the same city and we was trying to do the same shit, that's when we kind of did some Shinobi alliance and got everybody together.
Right. Will you guys ever be able to pull it back together again? Or is it something that just kind of lives like in infamy in the past?
Look, I'm telling you, there's only one Raider Klan and there will never be another one.
Right.
For what we did together was already legendary. We don't need to come back together to do it again.
But it's dope how you pay homage. I think the Blackland skit on there, just there's like always little, and in all your music, just little homages to Raider Klan.
Yeah.
I think
even CLOUT COBAIN, even Taboo. When you look at the hieroglyphics, Perk was doing that first.
Right.
You know? And when it came down to the music I was making, it was just like, all right, I'm going to express how I feel about things. Like what I learned from Metro ZUU, because Metro ZUU, they're CSPG, but we also did a CSPG Raider Klan thing, and it became CSPG Raider Klan, and that's what it was. Same with ASAP Raider Klan when that happened.
Right.
So, like, I pretty much pay homage to both Perp and Metro ZUU in a sense, because, like, when I blended those two together, that's what kind of created my sound. You know, aesthetically. And then I just started learning more and more and more. I like adapting, bro.
That's dope. Now, you could definitely see the growth. And I like how, again, the creativity you place with each project. Like, ZUU is nothing like Taboo.
And Taboo's nothing like Imperial.
Right.
And Imperial's nothing like Nostalgic. Like, none of that's, they're not meant to be the same.
Right.
And
if we go back to King Remembered and Strictly for My Raiders, those
are not,
yeah,
those are the only tapes that are probably the same. Matter of fact, King Remembered and King Mischievous South are definitely pretty much the same.
Right.
But when you get to Strictly for My Raiders, that was
There's
like
a
a more
growth.
conscious decision of making something that was like cohesive and like I could put a project and a body of work together. Then it goes to nostalgic. Like that was the bridge between the Raider Klan me and nostalgic.
Right.
Like two different eras. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that binds everything together is me.
Right.
You feel me?
And that's what I was gonna say is dope. While no projects sound exactly the same, there's sprinkles. Denzel Curry is the glue that holds it all together. Like even if you look at Parents and Ricky, like there's a bit of Parents in Ricky that comes from the nostalgia era, but sonically it's not the same thing. Like these
It's
are
not.
totally different records.
Nah, I'm paying homage to like my old tapes. And then even with like shit. What else, man? Even with Pat and with like Perks. Not even Pat and Perks. Pat and BMT. They're in the same universe. Most people would not know that.
Wow.
So the way I treat my albums, I mean, most people treat them like diary entries, chapters to your life. Me, I treat mine like films. Like, okay, ZUU is a fun film.
Right.
Like, it's not a comedy. It's just a fun film. It's just something that's like, you know, just tight. Like when you have something like it's like, damn, how can I describe it better? Okay, forget everything I just said. They are like films. They're like Tarantino films.
Right.
You know, you got Kill Bill Volume 1, you got Kill Bill Volume 2. They're related, of course, because it's Kill Bill.
Right.
But Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 are also related to Django Unchained because the grave that she was buried in Kill Bill, like Paula Schultz, Dr. King Schultz.
Right.
That's how you bridge the gap
That's
within those
crazy.
two
That's
universes.
And he did something similar with
Pulp Fiction
and Reservoir Dogs.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because the Vega brothers.
Right.
Like they're in the same universe. And even if you could go to Pulp Fiction relating to Kill Bill Volume 2, because remember when Samuel Jackson said he just gonna like walk the earth?
Yeah.
And he's gonna be at the place God wants him to be.
Right.
And like he was just, and if you look at Kill Bill Volume 2, you see like the dude Rufus when they're in the chapel where everybody gets killed. And he was like, I was a drifter, I was this, I was that.
I never even put that together.
Rufus, Julius are the same person. Right. You get what I'm saying? So all of Quentin Tarantino films are related. You get what I'm saying? And they said Django's jacket was in the haberdashery that was in Hateful Eight.
Wow.
That's how I treat my albums.
Wow.
That's why I sprinkle certain things I say in my albums. Like, you might hear something from Nostalgic on this one. You might hear something from King Remembered on this one. Or you might hear something from this on this one. That's how I do my albums. But when it comes down to videos, they're like pretty much set in that universe already.
Right. That's super dope, man. I'm glad that you came through to explain it, man, because like I said, you've been building this discography for a couple years. I mean, we really, if I'm be honest, over here at Genius, kind of really started having a relationship with you where you come in and you fuck with us from Ultimate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to even see where you went from Ultimate to now is amazing, brother. And I just want to salute you for that.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like everybody has that one song that everybody remembers. Like with Tyler, the first song I ever heard from him was Yonkers. But I'm a fan of his discography as a whole.
Look at where he is now. Like this, like for him to have this new album, Igor, and I think by far it's his best album, his best complete body of work.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you're like, yo, this is the kid that made Yonkers. Yes, it's the same guy.
It's the same guy.
It evolved. You know what I'm saying? Grown. And he might go back to Yonkers. Who knows what he's going to do next album or take us somewhere completely different.
When I look at the Igor cover, I think about Grace Jones for some reason. You ever see her covers? Yeah. I was like, man, it looks nice. It looks elegant. It's like power in it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, that's the type of artistry that I like. You feel me? Like where a artist could constantly evolve. That's why André 3000 is like one of my favorite rappers.
The CLOUT COBAIN video gave me the feel of when OutKast did the Whole World video. So like I definitely see that but it, you know, again, it felt like your own, man, but it definitely gave me a similar vibe.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that was one of the inspirations from it. Because when Mark approached me about the idea, at first I wasn't going to do CLOUT COBAIN like that. I didn't even think CLOUT COBAIN was going to pop like that, to be real. I just thought it was like, you know, they was like, yo, CLOUT COBAIN's the one. And I was like, I was like, I'm a hardcore person. So I'm like, nah, this one is like, no, it's CLOUT COBAIN. And then when they approached me about how they was going to do the video, at first I was like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing no blackface shit. Like, fuck that. They was like, no. You won't be in blackface. You'll be in clown face. And I was like, continue.
You got my attention.
Yeah, you got my attention because I'm like, a clown? Like, there's people already clowning me already for Ultimate. Fuck, I'm gonna be a clown for. And then it's like, no. But trust me though. And then that's what it was. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it.
That's dope, man. I'm glad that you did, man. All right, man. Look, you started this interview. You asked me what my favorite grill was, right?
Right.
I'm gonna end this interview. I'm gonna ask you. We do something with our guests here, and I want to ask you what your favorite verse is. And if you could spit some of it for us.
Favorite verse was probably OutKast, Andre's verse on Aquemini. My mind warps and bends, floats the wind, count the 10, meet the twin, Andre Ben, welcome to the lion's den. Original skin, many men comprehend, I extend myself so you go out and tell a friend. Sin all depends on what you believe in, faith is what you make it, that's the hardest shit since MC Ren. Alien could blend right on in, what you can, look again, cause I swear I spot one every now and then. It's happening again, wish I would tell you when. Andre, this is Andre, y'all just gonna have to make amends.
Oh, you hit that shit like you wrote it, boy.
Yo, Andre's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, faith is what you make it. That's the hardest shit since MC Ren is such a classic line. That whole verse is bodied, bro.
Yeah, he bodied that shit. I ain't gonna lie.
I could kind of see a Denzel, Andre 3000 collaboration happen. Can we put that in the universe?
I mean, it's already in the universe. Yo, but low key, if it wasn't for Andre 3000 and me meeting him that one time, I would have never made Ultimate.
Wow.
Never.
How so?
Because he gave me the courage to do what I wanted to do. Like me, I was like thinking about like, oh, what if people think I'm weird and stuff like that, or I'm copying. I was like, nah, I'm changed my hair. That's why my hair is like this. Yeah. And I just started doing Ultimate and then started listening to a lot of Jamaican music because in Florida, South Florida, of course.
Yeah,
you know?
very cool.
Like, I'm surrounded by Jamaicans. Like I can't escape these motherfuckers. Right. Like I love Jamaicans to death, but I can't escape them. But it's, you know, and I was influenced by that, you know, and that was it. That's why I really like see Andre as like somebody that really inspires me. Like nobody ever gave me that inspiration like that. Not even one of my favorite rappers, like Lord Infamous.
Right.
Like
also criminally underrated when it just comes to flows and what's going on in music today. Lord Infamous is really the catalyst for a lot of this shit right now.
He was the pinnacle of that. Yeah. You know? So it was just like, if that would have never happened, I would never been doing what I'm doing.
That's dope, man. Well, we're glad that you're doing it, man. We're glad that you come to Genius, man. You're welcome anytime. Denzel Curry, man. Thank you for doing For the Record.
Thank you.
Peace.
Paul Wall had amazing
absolutely.
reels. Yeah,
absolutely.
Look crazy. Now that shit just normal. Even a Tyler Creator got gold teeth now.
Word?
Yeah, you didn't see his videos?
I couldn't get past the wig. The video was fire, but the wig just take all the attention.
Nah, but that's the fire part.